that. And I just saw this blinding flash of silver, blue, white light. So he said, "Do you like it?" So I said, "Yeah." So didn't have anything else that did that at the time. So he said, "It's yours then." So I said, "Well, what about money and all that?" "Oh, no. This is a sacred tradition, no money must change hands. If you'd like to contribute my fare back to Tibet, that's fine." So he'd been in the West long enough to know compromise, so we sorted something out. So I gave him something that was within the market value. So I just asked him a little bit about it. He said it was made by a master of the Nyingma sect, and that it was his teacher who'd given it to him. Well, then years later, back in because they're talking about 1973 now, in 1980 or 81, I was performing again at the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival in London, and I met somebody who's become a friend of mine called Ra Bonovitz, who's written books about crystals and things, and he's a geologist. So I was performing one day. I was performing actually on this instrument here. I was bowing it and doing some chanting. This one here, deeper at the back. And so he said it went straight to his heart chakra, so he had to find out where the sound was coming from. And he came around and I showed him this. And he said, "It's got crystals in the metal." Now what that means is the metal is so old that it has begun to crystallize. It doesn't mean that when they made it they put powdered crystal in. It's actually begun. And he said that takes at least 500 years to happen. So it can't be anything less than 500 years. And I have since received ancient Tibetan instruments, mostly from 13th century, on significant birthdays, or round very close to significant number birthdays. Like this instrument, which is around 800 years old, received on my 33rd birthday. That has a lot of gold in it, and is actually tuned to the heart chakra and to the Master Jesus, of course, sort of Lord of Love. So that was my first bowl. So on my 33rd birthday, so that was rather nice. I worked with that for some years, and at that point I had this one bowl with a few cymbals, a few bells, and loads of gongs and all these other things. And then a friend of mine wanted to give me a panic bowl. Now this is what a panic bowl looks like. It's called a panic bowl because it's used for exorcisms in Tibet. And I thought, panic bowl, I'm trying to make like meditation music and nice, quiet, gentle stuff. Panic bowl. So I said, "All right, Alan, all right, okay." He wanted something of mine, and he wanted to swap this panic bowl for it. So I forget whether he wanted a gong or whatever he wanted, but I think we sorted it. We got him sorted out. And he rang me up and said, "I'm terribly sorry, Frank, but the chap who was bringing it back from Tibet has arrived on my door, and he's got some cheap imitation stuff from Germany. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what he's done." But, I said, "That's all right. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it." So we didn't. Nothing else happened. And then this Tibetan master, who has now since passed on, called Khyntse Rinpoche, brought over this instrument for me, which is he said it's very old and very ancient. And this is actually called a talking bowl, or we call it a talking bowl. And this arrived just before my 34th birthday, which is this little bowl here, which also has a lot of gold in it. It also looks like a lovely chalice or cup. And again, he played it, and "Do you like it?" And I said, "Yeah, I remembered it. It's an old friend like that one," and I immediately know what they're all about. This is actually tuned into a very high level of consciousness, so I seldom play it in public. It's tuned into the nirvanic plane. And when I meditated with it, the only words I could find to express the level of consciousness this bowl is tuned to is "I and the Father are one." Some while later, I was introduced to a Tibetan Lama who specialised in sound, and at this point I'd been told they're just fruit bowls and it's all nonsense. And I was looking at this thinking, well, it does look like a cup. Maybe I am. You know, maybe I've had one over the egg here. So, but I took it along anyway to this Lama with the little symbol, and I played this, and he heard it chanting a mantra. And the little American lady there translated for me, and the mantra was to cross the sea of samsara and enter nirvana. So I thought, right, that's enough for me, that's good enough for me. We both know what we're talking about, we're on the same, that's, you know, forget the fruit bowl theory. So the day after this arrived, panic bowl turned up. The guy rings me up and he says, Frank, the guy, he's on my doorstep now and he's like a lump of jelly and he's got the panic bowl saying, please just take it back. Don't ask me anything about it, just have it back, please. So he says, I've got the panic bowl for you. So I said, great, okay, bring it. So he turned up with the panic bowl the next day. And soon after that, that's the real McCoy in terms of Tibetan bowls, the panic bowl. In as much as it's all about magic and quite remarkable things. Now, so he turned up the panic bowl, and what I used to do in London, I used to have all my equipment set up in the living room, and yoga teachers used to get together and come around, give me a few quid each, and have an evening's concert, you see. So I'd set up a horoscope for this, because I always use a horoscope to give me, that becomes the score of the music. That's another subject, but anyway, basically it becomes the score of the music. Now this was a very gentle kind of energy at this time, and I'd come up with the title, Gift from a Humble Heart, because I felt the people who'd given me these things, or whatever, all they wanted was for me to look after them. So it was a very humble sort of feeling that I had. So we're just about to start, all the yoga teachers are in there. And behind me are all these big gongs, and behind that's the wall, and behind that's my neighbour. And he starts up with this blues music, you know. I've never heard it so loud. So I'm thinking, there's some mischievous people around, there's some dodgy energy here. So I'll have to play the panic bowl to exorcise the place. So I played the panic bowl, and at the end, they all said, "Wow, it's good when you played that, wasn't it? Because he just turned his, he turned his record player off, you know, and it was great, you know." One of them said, "What was that first sound? I didn't think I'd ever get my brain back." I taped the thing, and the blues music's going all the way through the tape, but nobody in that room heard the blues music. A couple of years ago, I was doing a one-day sound workshop in a converted barn. Lovely hot sunny day, windows open. The farmer starts up cutting his hedge, and he's tractor, you see. So I said, "It's a shame, isn't it? We've got a sound workshop and a tractor outside." She said, "I know, he's not a very nice man." So everybody says, "Let's send him lots of love." She says, "Oh, love, he's an horrible bloke." So they're all sending him love. And, I'm tuning into this bloke on his tractor, and yeah, you know, he's very bitter and he's twisting. You know, he's definitely got it in. He's going to be there all day. He's told her, "I'm doing this field all day," you know. So I told the story about the panic bowl, and then I played the panic bowl, and as it faded, the tractor faded into absolute. He left. She said, "I don't know why, he's just gone off." He said he'd be there all day and he's changed his mind, you know. So I said, "Oh, that's nice, isn't it?" And so it does things. I can tell you other stories, but that's probably enough for now. You get the idea, you get the drift. Now, this has 4 markings on it, on the 4 points, so it's very much the cross within the circle, which some of you may know is the ancient symbol of the Great White Brotherhood. I will play it now, because it also can be used for a very special practice of Nada Yoga, which is the yoga of sound. So there is like Hatha Yoga, the yoga of the body, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, Jnana Yoga, the yoga of the mind, Raja Yoga, the yoga of spiritual unfoldment and development, Kundalini Yoga, the yoga of the chakras, Agni Yoga, the yoga of fire and the purification of the personality, Shiva Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Karma Yoga, many yogas. But there's also Nada Yoga, which is the yoga or union with the divine through sound.